So today we are going to tackle a huge topic, our warming planet. We're going to explore what that actually means, the real world changes for all of us, from right here in our own backyards to the entire globe. Let's get into it.
Right. This is the big question, isn't it? Because a warmer world isn't just a number on a screen. It changes, well, pretty much everything. How we live, where we travel, even the food we eat. So let's take a look at what that impact really looks like.
Okay, here's what we're going to cover. We'll start off close to home by looking at changes in the UK, both the challenges and, yes, a few potential upsides. Then we'll zoom out to see the global picture, again, looking at both sides, before we try to weigh the whole thing up.
First up, let's focus on the United Kingdom. Sometimes a massive global issue like this can feel a bit abstract, so bringing it down to a local level is probably the best way to see what's really going on.
So, for the UK, it's really a tale of two sides. On the one hand, we're facing some seriously big challenges, like rising seas and more extreme weather. But on the other hand, there are a few potential upsides to consider, like maybe lower heating bills. Let's dig into the details a bit. The challenges are, well, they're incredibly varied. You've got rising sea levels, which could flood coastal towns. And up in the mountains, less snow could mean Scottish ski resorts have to close for good. That's a whole way of life and a local economy right there. And then, for all of us, we're looking at more extreme weather, from awful floods to long droughts that put a major strain on our water supplies.
But to get the full picture, you have to look at the other side of the coin. The source material we're looking at does point out a few potential upsides for the UK, but it's also very, very clear that these are pretty limited.
So, for example, milder winters could mean we spend less on heating, which is a definite plus. Warmer summers might also get more people taking holidays here in the UK, which would boost the economy. And get this one's surprising. Farmers could actually start growing new crops that were just impossible before, things like grapes for wine or maybe even oranges.
Okay, so that's the UK. Now let's zoom out and take a look at the global picture. This is where the scale of the challenges becomes, well, truly immense.
80 million. Just let that sink in. That's the estimated number of people worldwide who will be directly affected by rising sea levels alone. A number that big really shows you the massive human costs we're looking at on a global scale.
And the challenges really don't stop there. Warmer oceans, that's the fuel for more powerful tropical storms. Whole ecosystems are under threat, pushing countless species toward extinction. And it even affects our health, as tropical diseases like malaria could start spreading to new places. And yeah, just like in the UK, severe droughts are set to become way more common across the globe.
Okay, here's a key term we really need to get: permafrost. So what is it? It's basically land mostly in Arctic regions that has been frozen solid for at least a couple of years. The big danger is that as the planet warms up, this permafrost starts to thaw. And when it does, it releases massive amounts of trapped greenhouse gases, like methane, which trap even more heat. It's a dangerous feedback loop.
So, just as we did for the UK, let's have a look at the other side of the coin for the rest of the world. Are there any potential global benefits? Well, the source material says yes, but again, it really stresses that they are very, very limited. On a global scale, a warmer climate could mean that some colder regions use less energy for heating. Certain areas might find they have longer growing seasons for their crops. And, incredibly, some places that were frozen before, like parts of Alaska, could actually open up to farming for the very first time. So we've looked at the challenges and the few potential upsides, both in the UK and around the world. So let's try and bring it all together now and weigh the overall impact.
This quote from the source material really just sums it all up, doesn't it? While there are some potential benefits out there, they are very limited when you compare them to the sheer scale of the negative impacts. And that right there is probably the most important takeaway. And that leaves us with one final, really crucial question. It all comes down to this idea of balance. How do we prepare for a future where a handful of small benefits are just completely dwarfed by these enormous global challenges? That's something for all of us to think about.